welcome to how to create your first digital twin, capturing the built world and how to use it. I'm super excited to be here. My name is Dan Nakvi from UK Construction Marketing. Unfortunately, Kate Bygrave, our beloved MD, could not make the moderation today, but you're in safe hands. We have our incredible host, Matt Lacey from Surveytech.co.uk, guest speaker Anil Sawhney from the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors, and Stuart Leche from c9vt.co.uk. So we have an array of experience and we're super excited. I'm just going to go straight into the first quote that we have here is, what is a digital twin? So just as a quote here, a digital twin is a dynamic virtual copy of a physical asset, process, system, or environment that looks like and behaves identically to its real world counterpart. Now, we've had so many questions on how do you actually create your first digital twin? And also, what is BIM? What is point cloud technology? So hopefully you have all those questions answered today with our fantastic experienced speakers. I want to thank Surveytech and Matterport as well for putting together such a fantastic webinar for your information, your benefit. So let's go straight into my introduction. I am an experienced project manager, specifically working in communications and technology for UK Construction Marketing. And without further ado, I think it will be great to allow some of the speakers to introduce themselves. We'll start with our honorable host, Matt Lacey.
Thanks, Dan. I don't know how honorable I am. I think you can Cobra Kai or Parliament, who knows. So yeah, my name is Matt. I'm the managing director of Surveytech. We are a survey equipment company, and we've been established since 1997. The company was set up by my father. So we came to reality capture technology from a surveying equipment background. We had laser scanners, and actually it was partly down to our next guest, one of our next guests, Stuart. We were hiring out one of our laser scanners, and this guy kept talking about Matterport. And that led to us really going on this sort of digital twin journey to find out more and then become a Matterport dealer ourselves. And it's really, you know, an incredible step forward in our whole relationship with the built world. And I'm really glad to have been able to put this panel together. I think Anil, you'll see later from the RICS, will be able to give that strategic structural oversight, and then Stuart's going to really get into the nitty-gritty of what these models are and how to create them. So hopefully I'll then sit in between the two and talk about some of the technology where you can get it and what the costs are and how to go about it. So thanks, Dan. That's all from me for now.
Fantastic. Thank you, Matt. Anil, take it away.
Anil seems to be muted.
Hi, everyone. Sorry for that. Thank you, Matt, for putting together that wonderful panel. I think this is a very timely and important topic. My name is Anil Sawhney. I work for the RICS. Many of you would be familiar with our work. I'm basically a construction and infrastructure person working alongside our members and member firms, developing a body of knowledge, training products, international standards. So as the industry starts embracing emerging technologies and starts focusing on information management, RICS last year started some work on digital twins, and we produced a paper that sort of provides a leveling up or a level set for folks to understand what it is, how to build it, and therefore this panel is so timely. I'm keen to share the findings of that report, which is available on our website with you. Over
Fantastic.
Okay, good morning. My name's Stuart Leche from C9VT. Just on my background, really, it came out of initially I was nearly a doctor on 3D design, going way back, and then worked through to projects. But much of my probably the last 10 years working as project consultant and essentially involved with problems with projects. And certainly when we started up C9VT a few years ago, we recognised the opportunity with the Matterport platform, basically for solving a lot of issues around projects and collaboration and communication and so on. It does get used for a lot of different industries, from marketing through to building projects. The latter of which is where we kind of see the platform being used the most in terms of what it brings to a project to help smooth startups and progress through projects as well, to give visualization to the all the collaborators. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I think this would be a great opportunity to lead straight into your presentation, Stuart.
Okay, so a little bit about ad-libbing as we go. I need to share my screen and looking. So what I'm going to just share with you guys are a few examples that are on our website, actually. So whilst I'm going to flick through them, they are available to view on the website, so you can have a look for yourselves. So this was a project, Lamport Hall, which is, I guess, more on the marketing side, but a good example of the capability of the platform. So the remit for this was both interiors and partial exterior, and essentially what it does do is shows off some of the features. So basically what we've got, you've got the basic walkthrough, which is high resolution, and what you've also got is the opportunity to put tags in. So in this particular instance, this was a video that they wanted to show, or it could be text or links to images or manual. If you think about it, as far as industry is concerned, it could be manuals, specification sheets, and so on. But basically, as we go through, what you'll see is the ease of navigation with it, and that virtual element. I'm hoping that this comes across okay on the feed. It is very smooth for me, but the feed will make it stagger slightly. But this was just one of the reasons for showing this example is because of viewpoints as well. So one of the things that we did with this was go some high viewpoints in the hall. And, you know, we've had various applications where we've not just high viewpoints, but also getting into smaller spaces that are sometimes difficult to see. So if you think about restricted or difficult to access areas on some sites, you know, creating that visibility of them for people to share without having to try and visit themselves. So this was Lamport Hall. So as you can see, the detail is very good. So if you were looking for a condition survey, it would do the job very well. So just going on to another example, this was a school, Arnold Lodge. And basically what this, just sharing this one for a couple of things really. One is the ability to jump to various points within that 3D space. So there are things what we call deep links. So this is a tag that's set up with some deep links. So if you want to go to the food technology area, okay, simply within this tag is a link that can take you straight to that part of the school. Okay, so very useful for sharing documentation or specific locations on a project, for instance. Now, this is a large, fairly large school, and navigating the 3D space, basically what you have is the option to choose your floor that you want to visualize. So if you want to just look at the first floor to understand where you are in context to the different floors. And then just last example I wanted to share was this was a more simple home. This was for some people who were renting this property. But what I wanted to just share with you on this one was one of the facilities is to be able to measure in the 3D space. So one of the things that was compelling about the Matterport platform was the fact that it's actually recording the 3D data as well as the imagery, and giving the ability to actually take measurements. So literally a click into there and then up to that part of the ceiling there, and you've got a measurement. So very good for projects where you're looking to just establish rough spaces that are available, okay, in order to understand whether you were thinking about putting a piece of equipment in a space, for instance, and you can quickly validate whether that's going to be a go or a no-go without having to site visit and so on. So a very useful feature. In terms of our projects, just wanted to just touch on the scale of everything. Has a scale from, so we've done projects from the small houses through to a recent project which was to survey all the Avanti West Coast stations. They're basically up to 500,000 square foot spaces that we were scanning, and literally every square inch of them. So this was all the platforms, every interior space, and this really acted as partly as a condition survey for them, but also to give them visibility on a day-to-day basis as well. So anecdotally, you'd have subcontractors visiting sites, and being able to share those spaces with the subcontractors and also with other collaborators on projects has been extremely useful for them. The image on the left there, as you can see, is one of the stations at Stockport. Okay, so it includes all the exterior spaces as well. Okay, so I think, well, that just gives you an example of what is possible with the platform, and I think we'll be moving on to other features and benefits, as I think Matt's got some things to cover later on, so I shan't over-egg it at this point. Okay.
Thank you so much, Stuart, for that. There are some questions coming through. Please keep the questions coming. We have set some time aside at the very end to answer all your questions, so please keep those questions coming through, and we'll open up the questions to the panelists later on. We're going to now go to Anil, who is going to now do his presentation.
So thank you very much, Dan and Stuart. That was an excellent presentation showing the real applications of digital twins. I get to do the sort of the ugly part and tell you about the boring definitions and a few other aspects of digital twins so that you get a fuller picture of what digital twins are and can do. So I've just shared with you a couple of slides here that I'm going to talk you through. So if you go back to the basics and think about the definition of a digital twin, and it came out very clearly from what Stuart had presented. A digital twin is essentially a virtual replica or a virtual representation of a physical asset, process, or an entity. So essentially what you're looking at is, in the case of examples presented by Stuart, a physical asset which has been captured using technology, and you have a virtual representation. The key here in the definition, if you just simply look at an abstract technical definition, is a bidirectional loop when it comes to a digital twin. So meaning that the physical is connected to the virtual, and the virtual or the representation or the digital representation is connected to the physical. So it's a bidirectional link. Essentially, from the physical, you can draw information about the entities that live in that real world. Use that to give insights and decision making to the users, the end users. And based on those decisions, you can drive some actions in the physical world. So from a technical point of view, the bidirectional connection between the virtual and the physical is very important, so that you can drive better performance and better outcomes from your from the digital twin. So what are some of the elements of a digital twin? As I said previously, there's a digital replica which can be captured for an existing asset nicely by Matterport, brought back into an office, and a nice model created with lots of information and data directly embedded in that digital replica. And then you have the physical entity. So those are the two parts of the twin. When it comes to the digital replica, you need to keep in mind, based on the use case, the virtual representation could be a model, like you saw, a 3D model, but it could as well be a drawing, an image, a video, any file, any data, point cloud. So the virtual representation is quite broadly defined. Any digital asset that is created either during the use of the asset or during its design, construction, and handover. On the real world side, you can actually have the physical entities can represent the entire asset, as you saw, a school building, perhaps a single family home, but it can as well represent any equipment, any product, site, system, space, or a network of assets. So you can think of a digital twin as a combination of multiple twins to represent maybe a transportation network where a station, a tunnel, and other aspects of that network are represented. But you can as well think about real world entities and processes. So you can capture any design, construction, or asset management process also. So those are the broad elements. There are two aspects that are key as you invest in digital twins: the fidelity of a twin and the frequency of the twin, meaning how accurate and precise is your digital representation. And you saw an excellent example of highly precise and accurate digital model of a school building, for example. But at the same time, you also, because you have your twins bidirectionally connected, you need to ensure that they are updated. So if there was any change in the school building, ideally you would capture that so that the digital replica remains true to the physical representation of the physical asset. So the frequency is basically how real time or daily or periodic the updating of the digital twin is. So those are the elements of a digital twin. So if you break it down a little further, you will notice that a digital twin has a virtual representation, which could be a BIM model or any other type of digital asset that's created. And generally that will be the static data. So depending on whether you're creating a twin for a new project or a new asset or an existing asset, you may have lots of handover information even for an existing asset that can be brought into the virtual representation. You will also have some dynamic data coming into a digital twin through IoTs, sensors, other asset management systems. And as the asset is used and by the end user, you can get more information through laser scanners, through imagery, through videos, and other kinds of dynamic data that can be fed into the twin. So you really need a lot of data management, established information management processes to store all that data and to, I think I'm getting some, I don't know if you can still see my screen. It just went off for me, but here you will notice that there are a lot of. So there are interfaces that you can also utilize to develop a digital twin. So as an asset goes through its life cycle from design to construction to handover to use, you will get lots of data that should be built into a digital twin. We saw examples of as-built data through sensors, through videos, point clouds, but there are a whole set of other aspects of a digital twin, starting with information management processes, BIM and CDE, that can play a significant role as well. So you saw examples of a twin being used for maybe marketing and other purposes or during the use phase, but you can as well deploy a digital twin on a construction site and gather lots of information on a dashboard such as the one that you see on my screen here. And I know Matt is going to go step by step through every life cycle stage and explain how digital twins can be produced, can be used, and can also be updated. One aspect that also I want to bring forward is this issue of golden thread or digital thread. Remember, a digital twin is as good as the data and the information it carries. And one of the recent developments of a golden thread or a digital thread makes more sense in the context of a digital twin also, so that the information is carried through and vertically and horizontally integrated in our assets. Some more information for you. We have a paper that RICS has produced on digital twins. You can download that freely from our website, and a few other reports that may be of use to you if you're interested in this topic. So with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Matt.
Thank you so much. That was fantastic. And thank you for everyone for sending in those questions. Again, just to confirm that we will be answering all those questions nearer to the end. Now, honorable, this time I'm going to say the host with the most. We're going to switch over to our host, Matt Lacey from Surveytech.
Thanks, Dan. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes, we are.
Yeah. So I'm just starting off with this to kind of show where we've come from. This is a daguerreotype from 1838. It's a sort of early photograph. And I think the reason I'm showing it is because this technological advancement is almost, as profound as the invention of photography. We're capturing, but we're preserving the dimensions, and we're enriching even further. So it's a really remarkable step forward, and I think it presents an enormous opportunity for everyone who can be involved. The first people who got a camera and started taking photographs, found that there were incredible opportunities there, and it'll be the same thing for those that adopt digital twins. And so the second thing to say really is that, and Anil really went into this, is that it doesn't start and stop with creating a Matterport model. And there's a lot you can do with the data. And really to say we're here for advice. We represent lots of different brands, and sometimes we can help you either do something that will combine with Matterport or do something differently. So ProSec make concrete scanners. So if you want to maybe have a Matterport scan where you put the data from a ground penetrating radar survey and you put it in as one of those notes that Stuart showed us, then that's something that we can discuss and help you with. So yeah, these are some of the brands that we represent, and I think, like this sort of Maslow's law, to the man with the hammer, everything looks like a nail. It's important to get advice and make sure that you're not smashing everything in with a hammer. So to Matterport, the reason that they are so dominant in this space is a good one. They're the largest digital library of the built world, and they've used that position to create an incredible AI system to make that capture and process incredibly easy. And so what it involves really is through capturing, you can then understand and then act on that data. And that's the key thing, really. Whether it's whether you're working in any of these industries, if you've captured a digital twin of your building at whatever stage it is, there are benefits. So in retail, you can have a virtual shop that allows people to walk around. You can have every single product with links to where to buy it and how much. Real estate, you can sell houses to people that never physically walk around them, whether they can't make it for work or whatever reason. Travel, people can virtually see the hotel before they stay in it. They know exactly what to expect. Construction, we're going to go into this a bit more carefully, but throughout the life cycle of the building, from design to end, construction is hugely it's hugely useful to have a digital twin. Same with corporate. If you're doing training, and before people come to the office, they already know where they're going. Industrial, same thing really. And commercial. There are certain spaces the access is difficult. We've helped people create digital twins of prisons, for example, where prison guards have to train. They have to know what they're doing. They don't want to do it in the space. Now, we didn't use Matterport for that job. We used a laser scanner, but anything where it's beneficial for someone to be able to experience and share and collaborate on a space digitally, digital twins are useful, and not just through the industries, but also through the operations. Now, this is a quick video of how easy it is to use Matterport. Essentially, you see they connected the camera, they create the space, and then all she does is she moves the tripod. It takes about 18 seconds per scan, and she tries to stay out of the way of the camera. It's remarkably easy and quick to capture. And this is with the Pro 2 camera, which is about $3,000. There's now a Pro 3, which also has a laser scanner built into it. So all the processing is done in the cloud by Matterport, so it requires no real specialist knowledge. And there's a variety of methods of capture as well, starting with your smartphone and tablet. So depending on what you're doing, if it's just capturing a room for a rental and you want to show the state of it, then your phone is absolutely fine. But if you want to create those great models that Stuart showed us, then really you need to be either with the Matterport Pro 2 and Pro 3 or the Leica BLK 360 laser scanner, and all of them work on the Matterport platform. And the other thing to say is, or you can get someone else to do it. Just because anyone can buy a lawnmower, it doesn't mean that you don't pay a gardener. And I think the sheer quality of Stuart's models showed that there is a real benefit in getting an expert to do it. And that ability to show us those viewpoints from up high, that takes a good amount of technique. So whilst it is it's a very accessible technology, to get the best results, it's best to invest in the higher technology, or seek advice from someone who does it as their sort of full time. Now, here are some of the aspects of a Matterport model that you can gain. Stuart went into quite a few of them, but some of the other things you can show is there's also virtual reality. If you really want to be immersed in the models, as well as the matter tags, the 3D walkthroughs, and you can also get Matterport to create a schematic floor plan for you, and all of that is done without any specialist knowledge. So
can I just come in there, Matt? Sorry. Yeah, just to on a couple of things really, just on the process of creating this virtual space. The scanning side of it is obviously that first element which you do through your device. The process thereafter is literally to press a button and submit it, and it gets processed. And something like a house, or literally that you'll have a link sent to you within hours of having submitted it. For those larger projects, it can be up to 24, 48 hours for some of the really big sites. But even still, compared to you probably know better than anybody, Matt, in terms of how long it can take to get data.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Stuart. Laser scanners create large point clouds, and we have a sort of i9 processor computer to deal with that, and pretty good graphics cards and things like that. So one of the big benefits of Matterport is that you don't have to have that high level processor computer. Everything is both processed and stored on the cloud for great shareability.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's a really good point. And yeah, I did mean to say I value any input from all of my other panel on all my slides, because I think with all of these, and that includes you, Dan, that from a marketing perspective, that there's so much that can be gained from creating these digital twins.
Just going back for one of the slides, Matt, that earlier one there, and just talking about all the things that you can get with it. I think one of the big things that we recognized was that out of the one activity of doing the scan, how much you got back in return for it, as you say, with the imagery and so on. So the school was a good example where we'd actually done the scan for them from a marketing point of view. They're a private school, and it was done from a marketing point of view. However, they came back to us. We had mentioned to them that you could get schematic floor plans, and they came back to us a couple of months later and said, we're reviewing our safety evacuation processes. We could do with the drawings of the layout of the school, and literally within a few days we were able to provide that for them.
I think that's a great question. Even for us at UKCon, we get asked a lot about how to create, these digital visualizations, and especially for architects, for example, who have, want to showcase their buildings. So in that sense, showcasing your digital works, so to speak, through social media is very much in demand. So it's very applicable. So it's a great question, Matt.
Yeah, and you can also just take the photos straight off it. So you get, HDR 4K photos can just be pulled straight off it. So if you're doing real estate, you don't need to go around twice. You can just pull the photos straight off the Matterport, and it's kind of two jobs in one.
Yeah.
And Matt, if I can add on this slide, what I like about this slide is that the one on the life cycle, the one that you just next one, you can actually start thinking about use cases in every stage, right? While you're designing and the physical asset has not been stood up yet, you can start thinking about digital twins and gathering all the digital assets all the information and data so that it can feed into a digital twin. When you're constructing, you can have lots of use cases. You can run simulations, you can have safety. During design, you can talk about decarbonization. So I think it really shows you that through the building life cycle, you can have various use cases. And depending on your use case, you will use the right technology, the right data set, and the right frequency and fidelity of the model as well.
I think what's important with it as well, it kind of gives you one version of the truth. You say one of the things that we came across with projects was miscommunication. People thought there was 5 of something, there was actually 6, or vice versa.
Yeah.
And, you know, and even just starting up projects, having that visibility for everyone to share. You know, project startups can be notorious for being prone to delays and site visits and so on and so forth. So it can really speed up projects.
Yeah, I think the collaborative aspect is really good. I think what Stuart was saying there, you know, quality assurance. So if you do it throughout the build, like in the sort of middle image, you can see exactly where you were at what stage, and also, you know, before you close up those walls, you can see where all the pipes are, where the cables are, and so if you need to then drill into a wall, you know, you've got a good idea of what's behind, and it's that ability to go back in time. As Anna was saying, you know, at every stage you capture one, and then you can also go back and see where things were and when, and if there are any sort of arguments or later down the line, it's been digitally documented, you know. So things being signed off, and you can also work collaboratively and note things and make sure that their sort of action is taken as to when it needs to happen. So that's especially with things like condition surveys, you know, well, that pipe needs to be fixed, and you just put a tag on it.
Yeah. So just talking about tags, Matt, there are what's worth highlighting is 2 versions. There's the front end, which is the tags that I shared on the spaces that we've shared with you, but as a business enterprise account, for instance, you can have collaborators where you can put notes in and tag each other. Yeah. So things like handovers and so on can all be kind of driven out of the 3D space. You know, so you can add photos directly to it, documents and so on and so forth. So it can really help in the latter stages to help close out snagging and so on and so forth.
Yeah, snagging and facilities management. Because, you know, if you are operating an industrial space and you want to work collaboratively, then, you know, you can create a digital twin of whatever juncture you want and make sure that people are acting on the information that you've got. So Stuart's pretty much gone through all of these between us. I think the other thing to say is the Matterpack, which is a sort of a collection of assets that you can download. So, you know, you can really feed them into different applications. So you can bring them out of the Matterport system and then bring them into, let's say, Revit or something like that. So you've got there's a lot of assets that you can create, and that also includes BIM. And again, this is something that you can now offer to clients without any specialist knowledge, basically at the click of a button. Now it's an extra cost on top of your subscription, but I don't know if anyone in the chat has ever created a BIM model, but it's quite time consuming. You effectively take a point cloud and then you have to draw around all of the features. And so, you know, you've got people with who've trained at university for 4 or 5, you know, architects, 7 years, drawing around a point cloud, which just isn't a good use of time. Whereas with Matterport, you know, you can click the button, they'll give you a quotation. A combination of AI and their trained operators will do it for you, and then you can just, you know, pass the cost on to the client or build it into whatever quotation you have. Effectively, it just gives you the ability to do that MEP without to do that BIM model without the specialist knowledge. And then this is just an idea about where things can go. I think Anil was talking about how you can build in information into those models, and the Internet of Things is one of the ways that really can be done. And I think you can see on the GIF that they've sort of put in some of the pipe flows and things to augment that experience. So finally, I spoke briefly about the cost. So that the starter, which you can use with your phone, is $7.99 a month, and then to use it with the Pro 2, which comes in at $3,165 with all the accessories, or the Pro 3, which is $4,995 camera only, plus VAT. So that I'm just putting those up really so that we have that you kind of go into it with your eyes open. It's very accessible technology. You can start with just your phone and $7.99 a month, or you can build up to a far more sort of professional package. So with those sort of costs given, I think that's kind of the end of my presentation, and I think we should try and move on to the questions.
Fantastic. Thanks for that, Matt. I'm just going to go right into the Q&A. So we're just going to there we go. Here we go. So we have had quite a lot of questions come in. There was one question that came in during Stuart's presentation, which I think would be good to tackle. We've got approximately 14 minutes left, so we'll just kind of open up the questions to everyone. But this one, it was specifically came through for you, Stuart. The school example was good, as I do a lot of work for this sector as a building surveyor. I was looking at the Pro 2 or Pro 3 camera to assist in creating floor plans and tags once comfortable with the software. Are the Pro 2 or Pro 3 acceptable for what I want? That's the question from Paul.
Okay, I would say yes. At the end of the day, there's an issue of horses for courses, you know. So if Matt will know the range of all the different scanners out there in terms of accuracy. If you're looking for a construction level, okay, where people are actually going to start cutting material and knocking down walls and so on, there's obviously high grade scanners that you can use for that. But in terms of generating floor plans, you know, the Pro 2 or Pro 3, it will be sufficient for sure.
The stated accuracy of the Pro 2 is around 50 millimeters, and the Pro 3 is more like 20 mil. Then the BLK 360 should be around 5 or 6 millimeters.
So the applications where we've used them, where you are in close proximity to walls generally, okay, the accuracy isn't too bad at all, you know. So we went through a process, particularly with Avanti, to sort of validate some of the measurements that we were actually getting out of the Pro 2 and the BLK. And you know, they had done previous surveys in some of these rooms where they had accurate dimensions, and we were literally within millimeters, you know. So whilst there's a stated accuracy, the practice is, if you're following good method in terms of where you scan as you go through these properties, you can generate good accuracy. Where you can go over distance, that becomes where you might start getting a little bit of drift coming in. But each room by room, the accuracy will be pretty good.
I would
Brilliant.
also, just briefly on the Pro 2/Pro 3, the Pro 3 has a laser scanner built in, so you don't just gain the accuracy, you also gain the fact that you can use it externally without worrying about light conditions. Now, you know, Stuart's a very experienced user, and he also has a BLK 360 laser scanner, so he can use it externally. But if you're in bright sunlight, the Pro 2 just won't work outside to create those models, because it uses infrared, whereas the Pro 3 will. So it's not a sort of a basic upsell here. It really does give you much more capacity.
So the Pro 3 is a real step forward as well, because even doing some of the internal spaces, you know, you can find yourself with the Pro 2 restricted by time of day if you've got bright sunlight coming into some of these rooms, and the Pro 3 does eliminate that little bit of a headache in that respect, because obviously it doesn't matter what time of day you're then scanning. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. We'll just jump into the next question. It's quite an interesting question, actually. Is there a way to identify how long it will take to create a digital twin through a rough observation of a building? Is that possible?
It depends how you're doing it. You know, Stuart will probably be able to look at a place and know very quickly, because he's done it a lot. But the other big difference and step forward between the Pro 2 and Pro 3 is that the Pro 2, you had to do a setup every sort of 2 meters, whereas the Pro 3, you can be 8 meters away and it will still work because of the laser scanner and that range. So if you're using your phone, that's going to be the slowest. If you're using your phone with the motorized axis, which is a tripod, and it spins it round for you, that'll be slightly quicker. And then the Pro 2 will then be the next quickest, and then the Pro 3 will be the quickest. So it really, the time spent massively depends on your method of data capture.
Yeah, as you say, there is a little bit of instinct starts to come in. I think the more complex the space is, the longer it is going to take you, and depending on what your remit is. So if your remit is to capture lots of detail around the property, it isn't just about distance then, because you're actually looking to capture viewpoints and features and so on and so forth. So if it's a large empty hall, obviously you can, with a Pro 3, you can go out to 8 meters and not worry too much about it. But if it's a busy space with lots of rooms and so on, then it will take you a little bit longer to get through that space.
And I think to add to, sorry, Matt, if I may jump in. So to add to what Stuart is saying, I think it's important to answer the what and why before the how. So why are you really building that digital twin? What is it that it's going to do? So build a use case, and then based on that, you can go into precision, time needed, type of equipment, type of data and information you need to capture can be dictated from there. So really, it's a first decide why that you need that digital twin.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I was going to say, you know, that's why my first slide had those other pieces of equipment, because we also do GeoSlam laser scanners, which are mobile laser scanners. You walk around with it in your hand, and it will capture, and you'll get dimensionally 5-6 millimeters. That, you know, so if you want to end up with a point cloud and you have an extremely large space, then one of those would be better than the Matterport. We made a video last year of me cycling around the Olympic Park with one of those on my back on a Boris bike. So that speed of data capture is you know, far in excess of what you can achieve by having to set up a tripod. But you basically have to come at it, as Anil said. What do you want to get out of it? What is the space, and then you can start to look at the options. Matterport is fantastic for so many use cases, but we can advise you if there's, you know, a special case where it's an extremely large space and you want a point cloud, for example.
I can, Dan, I can give an example of what I did in an external space. So we were essentially, the use case there was external improvements to a 100-acre community. So essentially extracting external features, looking at any soft or hard encroachments, any traffic interventions needed, or any street furniture that can be added to improve the community spaces. So we used a car-mounted 360-degree ladybug camera and a TopCon laser scanner, and you can actually drive at normal internal road driving speeds and capture point cloud and video imagery that then comes in and gets converted into a model, onto which then you can synthetically add street furniture, artificial trees, to show the community and get their input as to what would it look like if that investment were made into improving those external spaces. So the use case was quite clear. That dictated what kind of equipment would be utilized, what kind of modeling would be done, and then produced videos that were shared in a stakeholder meeting. And folks were told that if we did this design intervention or urban planning, urban design intervention to traffic, things will become safer, more traffic flow, and so on. So I think, again, depends on the use case.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You'd largely be driven by what the requirements are, for sure.
We've still got a ton of questions to get through, but we only have about 5 minutes left. There was a question about the presentation being shared. There will be a post email to all registrants where there will be links included highlighting the webinar. So yes, it will be shared. One question that came through is, how accurate are the measures tool?
Yeah. First of all, Dan, do you need to share your screen just saying Q&A? I think we may as well.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Leave it to just a few.
Yeah.
So it depends on the capture tool. I think as we said, Pro 2 circa 50 mil, Pro 3 circa 20 mil, BLK circa 5-6 mil. Although Stuart has just said actually they were down to a couple of mil. So.
Yeah, I think the thing where I see and I've experienced people using the measure tool for projects really is literally just to get an idea of the space. You know, you've got a piece of kit that's 2 meters wide. There's a cavity in the wall there. You know, is it anywhere near? And if you need to go and measure up exactly, you know, you'd probably want to do that, but it will give you enough accuracy, I would suggest, to know whether you're in the right ballpark or not.
Yeah,
and my response would be, Matt, that it's any day better than missing as-built drawings or having no information about your asset, right? So an old asset, you have no information, all as-built drawings are either lost or were never updated. This technology will give you much better pieces of information and data than you can imagine.
And you can get a point cloud so that it's you're sort of building off better information. The measure tool, as Stuart said, is a great check device where you know if you're let's say ordering tiles, you know, just pull that measurement tool between 2 points and you can get the space really, really quickly. But if you're making bespoke furniture, you know, bespoke joinery, then really you should use a laser scanner and get the point cloud. But you can also download the point clouds from Matterport. So if you're using BLK, that's a bit better.
What I'd say really with this as well is if you're using a subcontractor to do the building work for you, you'd probably put the onus on them to do their own measurements in reality. So
but it's great to check them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for conceptual work as well. Really good.
Okay.
I think that almost brings us to the end. And just before we round up, there are still a few questions to get through. I will ask the panelists post-webinar and have them answered in when we do share the webinar, some of those questions answered then. I want to thank Stuart. Thank you very much. Any words before you leave?
Yeah, just have a go. To be honest, it's you know, there's obviously layers to learning, but the only way you find out is by having a go, and it's easy to do that with this platform.
Fantastic. Anil?
Thanks, Dan. I think what I would say is also think in terms of what I call 3D, or the dirty, the dangerous, and the difficult. There are tasks on construction sites that we shouldn't be doing without this technology. So there are many ways to look at it, but that's another use case where you don't want inspections to take place without this technology and put people in difficult environments, dangerous environments. So I think that's another way to look at digital twins.
Thank you so much, Anil. And again, thank you for participating. And we'll leave the close to Matt, the host.
Yeah, so I guess what I would say is that once we start engaging with this technological step change, the possibilities really start developing. Someone told me that they're developing an app for blind people where they're using this spatial data that is captured in digital twins in order to direct them to different rooms in a building. So if they come to a hospital and they know that they need to go to, let's say, the radiology department, they use the app and they get their directions based off the phone to lead them exactly there. Now, there are so many opportunities that when you combine, you know, spatial data, photographic data, everything else, we can really start to understand and use the built world better. And like Anil said, there's certain tasks that we just shouldn't be doing, you know, whether it's dangerous access or whatever. And so trying to work better also means work more safely. And yeah, I think the future is really exciting for it, but it'll require us all to try and educate ourselves and on what we can do. And I think, you know, events like this are quite useful for exactly that. So thanks everyone for all of your input, and yeah, hopefully we can answer all those questions in a follow-up email.
Great. Thank you, everyone. And thanks again. It's been a phenomenal presentation, guys. And we've also had some warm messages from all the attendees. Thank you to all the attendees as well. Thank you to Surveytech, to Matterport, to the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors, to Stuart. Thank you, everybody, and have a great day.